Hello, and welcome to This Week in James City County. I'm your host, Renee Dahlman. Today, I am joined by a great panel of folks that are going to talk with us a little bit about our recycling here in James City County. So I definitely have to check my notes because we have lots of names, lots of titles. I want to make sure that I get them correct. So first of all, from VPPSA, and I'm going to let them explain what the VPPSA acronym is we have got Tracy Hofmeyer. Tracy is the recycling coordinator. You want to give a wave, Tracy?
Hello.
Welcome. We are also joined by Jennifer Wheeler, and Jennifer is the VPPSA Deputy Director. Welcome.
Happy to be here today.
Glad to have you both. We are also joined by Kathy Russell. Kathy Russell is the TFC Education Outreach. Very good.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Okay, well, we're so glad you're here for sure. And last but not least, we have Joanna Ripley. Joanna is the Assistant Director of James City County's General Services Department. Welcome.
Thank you, Renee. It's great to be here.
I'm
great
so glad.
to be talking about recycling.
Love to do it. Love to do it. And we have, of course, I feel like we typically have someone coming and talking trash to us, yes, with the Clean County Commission. So it's kind of nice to talk recycling as well. So that's great. So let's do a real quick round robin on what it is that your department or your agency that you work for does. And we're going to go ahead and start with VPPSA.
Yeah, VPPSA, we're the Virginia Peninsula Public Service Authority. So we combine 10 cities and counties in the area. We serve as a regional authority. So we help to manage solid waste and recycling services on that larger scale. And the benefit to having this is we're a government entity as well. And we're working for the best for our communities, and having that regional pull, we're able to work on large scale contracts that provides cost savings and better services to the communities.
That is good. I think you have given that elevator pitch before. Very good. Very good. Okay. Now you, Kathy, tell us TFC, what's that all about?
So TFC Recycling has been in business for 51 years. We're not new in the industry. Just a little bit of history about TFC. Back in the late 1800s, the Benedetto family started recycling in America in the late 1800s. So we have been here for 51 years. We handle a lot of the municipalities in the local area, going all the way up to Richmond. And we process a lot of material and have great markets for those materials.
Very good. Once again, beautiful, succinct description. I had no idea. Recycling since the 1800s.
Late 1800s, yes.
That's amazing. I had no idea. I'm sure the rest of the panel knew, but that's news to me. So I've learned something today. Thank you. So let's stick with you, Kathy. Tell me, what are some of the benefits of recycling? Why is it important that we do it?
So recycling saves natural resources. If you were to not recycle an aluminum can, think of the hundreds of years that it would take for it to biodegrade. But you can put that one aluminum can in the recycling bin, and about 60 days it becomes another aluminum can. So plastics are the same way. We send plastics, paper. Well, actually, let me repeat that.
Mm-hmm.
We do plastic bottles. So it could be a detergent bottle, it could be a water soap bottle, it could be like a milk jug, and those turn into more of the same. It could be turned into polyester, it could be turned into carpet. It could be turned into most anything, but you got to put it in the recycle bin. So, put it in the recycle bin, it happens. We recycle paper. Now, if we recycle paper, and about every 7th time, you finally have to add wood to it. Do we want to cut trees down every time we recycle paper? No, we don't want to. So we want to recycle paper as much as we can. So we always say paper, bottles, and cans. We recycle more than that. We recycle glass, put it in the recycle bin. It gets recycled over and over and over again. And think of all the natural resources. I always ask the children to go, well, what's plastic made out of? It's petroleum. And we all know petroleum is very expensive. Mm-hmm. So, and metal cans and aluminum cans, we don't have to mine for that. It doesn't take any brand new material to make aluminum cans or metal cans.
All right. Good to know. So let's go over to our VPPSA friends, Tracy and Jennifer. I know that there are some things that are changing coming up soon on the contract with James City County. Can you explain to us a little what's going on?
Yeah, and our contract that we have, it'll still be the same contract. What we did is we signed a 5-year extension, and this is our last extension with it. And with that extension, we do have a little bit of fee increases involved. And where that kind of stems from is looking at the entire world of recycling right now, as well as in the industry in solid waste and other industries, is we've seen kind of inflation across the board. The cost of equipment, the cost of trucks. Right now, I know with VPPSA for our own transfer system, kind of up in our middle peninsula, is we are on a 1.5 to 2 year wait list to even get trucks. And the pricing, you know, we've seen over the past couple of years goes well beyond the general 3 to 6% inflation we're used to. So all these charges kind of trickle down across, you know, all the way down to the customers themselves. But it's nothing different than we're seeing in any other industry. You know, we've come accustomed to it over the last several years since COVID has happened. So when we look at the supply chain, when we look at these inflation factors, we've really worked alongside, you know, TFC to kind of get these charges to where they need to be. And looking at our past contract, we didn't have some areas that increased for several years in a row. There were certain things that maintained the same pricing levels. So we're kind of getting to the pricing structure we should be at now, and we are going forward. Our increases will be based off the CPI index. So it's kind of an average for that industry. So going forward, those price increases should be fair with the CPI indexes. But something we really want to highlight with this new extension going forward is we are incorporating some new services that'll give us some better information going forward about our communities. With this new extension, we're going to have 2 route audit and composition studies per community per year. And these will be local ones. So with these coming back, we're going to learn about our routes. We'll look at, you know, what type of contamination is out there, what areas it's in. And when we come back and we get the waste composition study, we're going to be able to kind of fine tune and get better percentages and understand for our local communities what exact contamination is occurring. And then we're going to get some education to target that contamination.
Absolutely. What would you add to that, Tracy?
I'm very excited about these route audits and the information that they will provide, because we've never been able to drill down and really get some good consistent information on the materials that we're collecting. So I think going hand in hand with the educational aspect of things, recycling, it's important to educate the residents so they can do it properly. Like Kathy was saying, put it in the recycling cart instead of the trash can, but just making sure that they know what can go in the recycling cart versus what can go in the trash can. I think I'm really excited about the educational front that we can address this go around with TFC as our partner.
Well, and it is very exciting that it's going to be specific. I'm already picturing, for example, say we have a hard time understanding necks on plastic bottles and what's a plastic bottle with a neck and without, and maybe our community struggles with that as well. That will then tell us, okay, they've got paper down pat. Let's really focus on plastic bottles and educating. I think that's really exciting. I agree.
I think that this will be a good starting point too for the residents to kind of look at where they're at and to be able to take that data and do better going forward.
Right.
And they're going to be actually able to see that progress now and to see, you know, those rates increase and to see the contamination levels go down in their own communities.
Yeah, because wishful recycling, right? Isn't that the phrase? That is still an issue everywhere. So this should help with that. That's exciting. So Joanna, how does all of this then impact us here in James City County?
So great question, Renee. So the impact to county residents is we want to make this program self-sustaining. So in order to do that, we did have to raise the rate. The current rate is $7 per month per cart. The rate is changing to $10.50 per month per cart. You will still be billed quarterly. So that bill that comes out in August will reflect the new rate, and that bill will be, if it's a 3-month bill, it will be for $31.50. So you will see a slight change there. But also I would just let folks know that James City County, the community at large, we are great at recycling. We recycle over 7 million pounds per year. So I would encourage residents to think about that when they're making their decisions on whether or not to recycle. So, and certainly if you have any questions, we've got our curbside recycling hotline. That hotline is staffed Monday through Friday, and I would encourage folks, if you have questions, to definitely reach out to us.
Okay, very good. So beginning with the August bill, that will show the increase in price. How are we getting that word out to our residents besides, of course, all 10 million people that will listen to this podcast? How else are we getting the word out?
Sure. So we are sending postcards to all of our current customers. There's a little over 12,000 residents that recycle in James City County. So we're doing that. We have a web page that will be launched by July 1. So folks have another resource to go to learn more about the program. And as I mentioned, always email or call us if you have any questions. But one thing I did also want to touch on is the education component that VPPSA mentioned, because we are trying to get more education out there to our residents so we can curb some of that wishful recycling and make sure that the stuff that folks are putting in the bin is an acceptable item and is able to be recycled.
Okay. So I do have a question, and I'm not sure who the best person is to answer this. So feel free to jump in. When people sometimes say, it doesn't matter, things don't get recycled anyway. Joanna, you just said a number that is amazing that actually does get recycled. But what else would you say if there are people that are on the fence on whether it's worth it to recycle or not? Go for it, Kathy.
So I can't believe in 2024 that people don't think recycling happens. I take people in the plant all the time to see exactly what happens. And you're more than invited to come. You have to be 18 to be able to climb some steps, but we could take you on a tour of our plant. So at the end, you will get an email address and you can absolutely email me for a tour. But we do have markets. It does happen. I was on a next door in my local area and people going, recycling just doesn't happen. Just throw it in the same thing. It's going to go to the landfill anyway. It does. That is not the case. We spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on equipment that sorts it, does photo identification and images. Like I have a bottle beside me. It images that bottle and it tells it where to go. It tells the different types of plastic where to go. It tells the cardboard. It rides over the stars where the mixed paper goes underneath. My husband went there and go, wow, I cannot believe all this photo identification. Takes split-second pictures and tells it where to go. It's not all hands-on, but it does happen. And please, educate yourself about what happens and believe that it does, because it does. I've been here. I'm very blessed. In 2 more weeks, I'll be here 20 years. So I've seen things change. I have seen it be more hands-on versus optical scanning. And so, again, it does happen. Take a tour, educate yourself, and please contact us if you have any questions. Another thing I would say is we want you to go back to basics because people overthink it all the time. Paper bottles and cans. Paper bottles and cans. Okay. If you can just remember that, you've got probably 75% of what we recycle. So don't make it hard.
I love that. That's great, Kathy. Thank you so much. Well, I know that we are about to wrap up. Are there any final thoughts that anyone would like to share? We'll start with you, Joanna.
So I would just like to share is, touch on what Kathy said. I would encourage folks that if you have questions about is your material being recycled, take the tour. That is something that is offered by TFC, and I would encourage folks to definitely take them up on that.
All right, thank you. How about you, VPPSA?
I would say, just to touch on Kathy and Joanna's comments, that for folks that move into this area, I get these questions a lot. Well, I used to recycle X, Y, and Z when I lived in California or when I lived in Texas. Well, the markets are different throughout the country. So that does make it confusing. And I would encourage folks not to be disappointed or discouraged when they come and sign up for our program and we tell them what's recyclable, and it may exclude some things that they didn't exclude in their previous program. Well, it's because the markets are different wherever you go in the country, and that will dictate what our processor, TFC in our case, can handle and market. And so that's another fact pointing to these things aren't going to a landfill because they have to be selective on what they collect in order to put them onto the market where their market's available.
Very good. Very good. Okay. How about you?
Yeah,
So,
the last piece that I would add, especially for VPPSA being the regional planning authority for solid waste and recycling, and James City County being one of those members, is looking at recycling as our best way to divert from the landfills. You know, we have limited capacity in our landfills. Nobody wants to plan for new landfills. So recycling is our best way to divert that material and save that landfill space for the things that we can't recycle, the things that have to go in there. And this helps preserve our environment and keep things great for the future, sustainable programming for our children and our children's children.
That's amazing. Thank you. And finally, last but not least, Kathy, any final thoughts?
yes. So a couple things is, everybody sees that triangle on materials. All that does not mean it can be recycled always. We are one of many recycle streams. So a battery, for instance, you don't put in the recycling bin. We've lost complete trucks because of batteries. Again, it's all market driven. So is there a market for it? Now, it costs us, say, $85 to $100 a ton to process material. Is there value, and is there a home for that material? Again, paper bottles and cans, I can't say that enough, because if you can just remember that, you've got it. So again, don't be the wishful recycler, stay on top of it, and don't be the person who also, when your trash can gets full, put it in the recycling bin. I mean, we get clothes. I guess they think we have a direct route to Goodwill Industries or any type of thrift store. That is not the case. We're not your yard debris container either, because we get a lot of that, especially in the fall.
Okay, well, and we have a great website that I'm going to include at the end of the podcast where you can find out where to take those things, where to take batteries, where to take clothes, when's the next hazardous household chemical and waste collection, all of that. Everything you would ever want to know, you can find on our website. So again, thank you all so much for taking a little bit of time out of your very busy schedules to come on the podcast with us.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So glad to have you. Well, that wraps up this episode of This Week in James City County. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, please be sure to subscribe. That way you will never miss an episode, and go to our website. We're at jamescitycountyva.gov/podcast. And on there, you're going to find all of our episodes as well as a form that you can complete. Give us show ideas, comments, critiques. We would love to hear from you. And again, be sure to tune in until the very end so you can get all of the telephone numbers. You can schedule your tour of TFC and just be the smartest person when it comes to recycling in the world. So once again, thank you all so much, and we will talk with you next time.